Okay. Firstly, thank you for jumping on this call, guys. This is obviously going to be really beneficial for you. Some of you guys are in your first couple of weeks with Forge. You might be watching this and you've just joined Forge. You might have been at Forge a couple of years, but for all of you, this will be really, really beneficial. Effectively, what I'm going to tell you on this call is something that every single person goes through when they join Forge. Every single transformation you've ever seen that I've posted has done this, whether they know it or not. We're going to talk about how to lose up to 10 kilos of body fat in 90 days without tracking a single calorie, tracking a single macro. Okay. Normally, when you start a diet or something like that in the past, they've asked you to write down your food, they've asked you to use MyFitnessPal, and for sure that's great at a later date. But we're going to talk about foundations and why, if you get these foundations right, you can lose up to 10 kilos of body fat in 90 days without tracking anything. Okay. So hopefully this will work. It might be a little bit slow. As some of you know, we've had Wi-Fi issues. So if you want results like Lauren, Rich, Cam, and Amy, I believe, Molly, Dan, Amy, Angela, and then Laura, all of these people are people I've worked with in the last year, 12 months or something like that. And the reason I'm showing you these people isn't about them. These people are nothing special, and they won't mind me saying that. They didn't just have a good metabolism. And they all said one particular thing on the phone to me when they joined. They all said, I can't lose weight, Dan. I've tried absolutely everything. I've tried Slimming World. I've tried Weight Watchers. I've tried this. I've tried that. I just can't do it. They all had the same conversation with me. And like I say, they haven't done anything special. What they've all done, though, is they've all followed the framework I'm going to show you on this call. Each and every single one of them do these foundations, which has allowed them to get these results. And some of them might not even know. So you're probably thinking, Dan, shut up, just tell me what to do. And I'll get onto it. We see weight struggles every single day in here, whether it's poor eating habits, food choices, binge eating, under eating. Every single person has got some form of nutrition struggle. And ultimately, that's something to be okay with, because if we rewind back 10, 15, 20, 30 years, whenever, no one's ever been taught how to eat and how to actually understand how their body works, and is something hunger, is something thirst. So we're going to get into that on this call. And if you get these foundations right, which we're going to go into now, you'll be in a great position for weight loss, and we will get that 10 kilos off in 90 days, okay? So hopefully this one's live. We'll get past the next one. Number one, and if you're not doing this currently, this is a non-negotiable. I'll argue this with absolutely anyone. And this doesn't mean breakfast, lunch, dinner. This could be meal one, meal two, meal three. This could be however you want to call them. I don't mind what they're called. It's 3 meals a day. Now, the reason for this is many people cut meals out. And what they do when they cut meals out is that they're cutting out calories, and that results in them crashing. And who here maybe has done, and put it in the Zoom chat actually, just put me. If you've done a diet where you've cut something out, whether it's carbohydrates or you've cut out breakfast or you've cut out dinner, you've done intermittent fasting, and it's resulted in you crashing at some point in the day, you felt dizzy, you haven't been able to exercise, or maybe you've done it for a week, and then after a week you've gone, and excuse my language, but fuck this, I need a pizza, I need this, I need that, and you've just gone and indulged and just given up. Because I know in the past when I've tried to cut things, that's me, 100%. And ultimately that's because, like, if you start cutting carbohydrates out of your diet, or you start cutting a meal out of your diet, food is fuel, and we have to understand that. A lot of times food is alienated, and when it's alienated, we avoid it. So food is fuel. And if you go to get in your car now and you want to drive 60 miles and you put 40 miles in fuel, what happens? The car breaks down and it comes to a stop. It's the same with your body. If I'm asking my body to do 12 hours of activity in a day by being awake, going to work, feeding the kids, doing the washing, and I'm only fueling it for 8 hours, what's going to happen in the evening or in a couple of days? Your body's going to break down. It's going to go, stuff this, I can't do it. And that's that. So what we need to be doing is we need to have those 3 meals a day. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner is the easiest way I can describe it. Meal one, meal two, meal three, however you want. And I'll get onto meal timings later in this episode. But these 3 meals will reduce your snacking, because if you miss a breakfast, how often do you miss breakfast, let's say, and then you end up snacking and this is a prime example. Oh, I go to the bread tin and I get 2 slices of bread and I have that. And then, you know what, about an hour later, I got a bit more peckish. So I got a bag of crisps, and ultimately 1 bag of crisps is not enough. So I had 2. And then, you know what, about midday, I had this and then that. And then that snacking ends up being 1,000, 2,000 calories. And you may as well just have breakfast, which was only 500. So common. And that's because of the blood levels spiking up and down and up and down. And I could get into the science of that, but I'm not going to bore you with it. I'm going to keep it simple. So number one, 3 meals a day. And if you've got a notepad, write that down. 3 meals a day, or put it in the Zoom chat if you can. 3 meals a day. This is absolute foundation stuff. Number two, every meal must contain protein. And I'm not asking you to track my nutrition here. If you look in a group chat, I put in a protein resource sheet. It had protein, rough estimates of amount of protein in each protein source. I put vegetarian stuff in there, I put vegan stuff in there, I put meat, I put soya options, I put all sorts in there. And if you need more, let me know and I'll sort it out. That protein sheet, every meal must have one of those in, non-negotiable. And if you can't get a protein source in, we can add supplements, but I'd like to keep it natural. You know, if we look at that protein sheet, and I'm going to do it just how you guys are doing it now, because let's stay on the same page. If I go on here, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, we've got our lunches. We can hit meats on there: chicken, turkey, beef, pork, lamb, salmon, tuna, cod, prawns, eggs. Your dairy options: Greek yogurt. There's your breakfast done. You could scrambled eggs for breakfast. There's so many options on there, and I've put a massive, great big list on there. And if you need more, let me know. But if you put one of those in every single meal, you're onto a winner. And the reason I go on about protein, we hit a protein number, we maintain muscle. And if we hit a protein number, we stay fuller for longer, which reduces the snacking throughout the other meals. Now, with this, like I say, no calorie counting, no macro counting. If you do these 5 steps, you will lose weight. I promise you that. Just put a yes in the Zoom chat if you're following along. And if you have any questions, just put them in the Zoom chat and I'll come to them as we go, okay? Yes, Liz, I can share that for you. That's no problem. Okay, number 3, and this is where I had a heated debate with my 89-year-old granddad 2 days ago. And this is an interesting one. He come back from the pub, being 89 years old, and he sat down and he said to me, Dan, I need to lose weight. And I said, okay, I'm not gonna bore you unless you're 89, but he's like, I don't eat anything. You know, I have a couple of beers and there's no calories in beers and blah, blah, blah. And we had a debate about beer and calories. But anyway, actually talking about the interesting stuff. The liquid calories, this is where most people fall off the wagon on a diet. Friday, Saturdays, that's where most people smash the liquid calories. And let's be honest, 1 beer turns into 2 beers, which turns into 5 beers. The number one thing that I'd completely cut is, over the last probably 20 years, they used to push that you've got to have a glass of orange juice in the morning. You've got to have this, you've got to have that, which racks the calories right up. Fruit juices, healthy, 150 calories a glass. And when I say a glass, I don't mean a glass that looks like this. I mean a glass that looks like this. Alcohol, beer, cocktails, wine, 150 to 600 calories a serving, sometimes even more. Those fancy coffees you get at Starbucks that are just a coffee, right? 200 to 500 calories. Full fat Coke, full fat Pepsi, full fat Fanta, 150 calories. And then I'm going to hear the whole, but Dan, Diet Coke and this Coke has aspartame in it, and aspartame causes cancer. Correct? I'm sure someone on here will have said that. If you do the research, I'm just going to debunk this one here and now. Aspartame, which is found in those drinks, is also found in water, tap water, and very often tap water has more aspartame in than Coke, diet drinks, Diet Pepsi, Diet Fanta. They are not horrendous for you. They are no worse than smashing full fat Cokes and stuff like that. And for sure, at a later date, we might talk about optimum health, and maybe they don't fit into that category. But where we are right now, where we want to lose a bit of fat, this is something we can is an easy, quick change. And when we talk about coffee, it's like I have no problem. Like some of you know that I very often have a coffee hand in the gym. And a coffee with a dash of semi-skim milk is not the end of the world. But when I start seeing, a bit of coffee art and a little bit of a latte and a caramel, whatever they're called, and stuff like that, and I nipped to Starbucks and I fancied a nice coffee with this and that. You see what I mean? It all of a sudden starts whacking up. And yes, I'm not sure who this is, but you make smoothies with water and spinach with fruit. Yeah, for sure. Absolutely great. That is a good way of doing it. It's different if that smoothie is like full fat milk. So if it's water, it's a game changer. That's great. And I was actually going to say, like, that's something you could do instead of fruit juices. Alcohol. Now, I'm not going to tell you to go and drink water because that would just be a little bit crazy. But limit it. Have alcohol-free nights. Try and go Monday to Friday with no alcohol. Fancy coffees, limit it to one a day, or be a bit more boring with them. Your fizzy drinks, drop down to diet drinks for now, that kind of stuff. They're easy ways to save calories. Moving on. Oh, okay. Meal timing. This is something I really explored last year. And for some of you that don't know, I've got a level 4 qualification, and my speciality is in diabetes and weight management, which is all about glucose spiking and how sugar spikes certain results in certain cravings and stuff like that. I'm not going to bore you with this. Something I played around with last year when I was trying to drop some weight. I found that when I got up and if I started work at 7 a.m. or something and I ate before work, I was so hungry in what I call danger times. Danger times, 11 a.m., 3 p.m., 8 p.m. And I'm sure all of you on here are bad at one of these times, maybe. Watching TV at night, maybe it's a bit earlier than 8 p.m. Mid-afternoon, the mid-afternoon munchies. And between breakfast and lunch used to be my danger time. I'd just eat anything. So here's how I dealt with this. And this framework is something I've introduced with almost every single client I've worked with closely. I started delaying breakfast till about 10, 11 a.m. I then had a snack at about what would be classed as lunchtime. I dragged my lunch back to 3 o'clock, and then I had dinner at a relatively normal time. What that resulted in is, one, my dinner portions were smaller. My lunch filled me up through to dinner, and I didn't actually need that snack in there. I had it just to make sure I would fuel my body. And I woke up and I wasn't really hungry. And the reason for this, and I'll get into a little bit of the reasoning of my madness about this, just so you don't think I'm just being crazy, is eating too early effectively causes spikes in sugar levels and increases hunger. When you eat first thing in the morning, and especially carb heavy, and this is not me alienating carbs because carbs are my favorite thing. Effectively, your blood sugar rises really quickly and it triggers insulin, which causes the blood sugar levels to just crash. And that increases hunger. There's a hormone where we get hungry called ghrelin, and that increases hunger really quickly. Cortisol, which is a stress hormone, is higher in the morning, and eating early basically amplifies those blood sugar level fluctuations and cravings, which increases your stress hormone, which makes you hungry again. And also, if your breakfast lacks protein and healthy fats, your body digests it really quickly, and then all of a sudden, you are craving food at that. You put a yes in the chat if it makes sense, and feel free to put a no if it doesn't, and I'll happily go through this. I really want to make sure that everyone's logged in and this is all making sense to people. Cool, perfect. This is something I've done, and a lot of people have done in the facility, and it's really helps them. No one wakes up at 7 a.m. and goes, oh, I really fancy a pizza, or I really fancy a bowl of ice cream. But at 8 p.m. in the evening, we start dragging things back. And you might say to me, is eating too late dangerous? Stuff like that. That's me, being a PC. My meal times can be all over the place. But I don't finish in here till 7:30. By the time I've cleaned, got home, might not eat till 8:30. And I've never had an issue with it. And for sure, we don't want to eat really late because who wants to go to bed on a full stomach? But you'll still burn the calories. It doesn't just sit there and not burn effectively. Okay, so you still burn the calories. Just because you're going to bed doesn't mean you're not burning calories. I know that's a question I get asked often. So we should be moving on to number 5. And this is one that I'd like to do, and it is really, really good to bulk out those meals. There's nothing worse than having a meal and you're trying to just reduce your portion sizes and stuff like that and not overeat. And you put it on the plate and you go, bloody hell, there's nothing there. So what I've always do is I always load my plates up with veg. I put what I'm having, maybe it's chicken, with some potatoes or whatever, and then I'll load half the plate up with veg, green veg, peppers, that kind of stuff. Fill it up. Veg is fiber. It's very, very low in calories. Now, it's not calorie free. This isn't Slimming World or Weight Watchers where it's thins and this and that and that. It's not calorie free, but it will help you. It will fill you up. And by filling you up on lower calorie foods, that's going to make you fuller for longer. If that makes sense. So try and incorporate a protein with every meal, a fiber with every meal, and you'll be in a good place. If you do that, you're going to be laughing. Things are going to be filling up. A lot of people go online and they look for this recipe and that recipe and this recipe and that recipe. Keep it simple, especially when you're first starting out. When you first start building a house, I don't know if there's any builders in here, but you don't start thinking about what picture you're going to put on the wall or what taps you do. I mean, maybe some of you do, but surely you build the foundations first. And once you've got that foundation, start making it fancy after that. Foundations of food, basic food across a week. And if you want to start experimenting at a later date and doing this and that and that and that, that's fine. But get the foundations in place first. And here's a little portion control hack, because I know this is something that people can struggle with, and portion control can be a tricky one. The number 1 is a pint of water before every meal or whenever you want to snack during the day. So this is a little hack that I do. I have a bottle with me most days at some point. If I'm getting hungry and I want some food, I'll drink one of these. And in here is about 800 ml. And I'll just drink it and I'll get it gone in 10 minutes. And what this does is it starts distinguishing between what is thirst and what is hunger. Now our body reacts the same to both. And it's important to start to realize what is thirst and what is hunger. Now water is calorie free, so we can drink a pint of water and if it's thirst, it will just go away. And if it's hunger, it will stay and we'll stay hungry. And then we'll go and get something to eat. And that's how I start determining it, whether I'm hungry or if I'm thirsty. Pint of water, drink it, see how you feel, wait 10, 15 minutes. If I'm still hungry, I'll go and get some food. And that's always my golden rule. Slow down when you eat. We've all done this. You smash your food down, you eat it in 10 minutes, and then you're straight to the fridge and you're trying to work out what you can have for a snack. Let the food go down, wait 10, 15 minutes, see how you feel once again. If you're still hungry after you dinner, maybe go and get a snack. But very often, if you wait 10, 15, 20, 25 minutes after you've actually eaten, you won't be hungry, you'll be full. Half a plate of veg, like I said before, and keeping fats minimal. If you keep the fats minimal, you're not smashing full fat mayonnaise on the side of your plate, that kind of stuff. Smashing cream with your dinner, that kind of stuff. You're going to be in a better place. It's lower in calories, for example. Okay. What I'm going to do is I'm going to open up the floor, I believe, in a second. So if you've got questions, just put either a me in the Zoom chat or put your question in the Zoom chat, and we'll go through this. So I'm going to quickly break this down again. Is everyone on this call, and this is something absolutely everyone on this call can do, all of these, and some of you might already be doing some of these, and that's great. You've got less to implement. It's 3 set meals. Every meal must contain protein. Cut down on those liquid calories, just like if you were trying to budget and stuff like that, cut down on calories, on the liquid stuff. You wouldn't, if you're trying to save money for a house, you probably wouldn't be sitting there going out for lunch every day. If you're trying to save some calories, where can I save them from? Okay, I probably won't go and have a beer every single night when I'm at home for the sake of it. Maybe I'll just have a Diet Coke, and at the weekend I'll have a couple. Meal times, make those little adjustments that will help you with the blood sugar spike and help you with the snacking, and try and increase that fiber intake. And if you do those 5 things, I can assure you that you'll start losing body fat, and in 90 days time, you'll be in a lot better place. Where are we? Just check this is all recording. Otherwise, I'm in trouble. Yes. Okay. Any questions, guys? The floor is yours. And we'll go through it. Okay. So number one question is squash okay, either sugar-free or low? Yeah, absolutely. Let's get, like, here's how I see that one. I believe they do a sugar-free or 0-calorie one. And if they do, then that's great. If apologies. Yeah, I believe they do a sugar-free or a low-calorie one. If you can get them, make sure you get them. Don't get the full one. If you can drink water, it's better because it's definitely zero calories, but it's not the end of the world if you don't. So yeah, absolutely. Rachel, I have granola with yogurt and fruit for my breakfast. Is granola generally high fat food? It is generally a high calorie food. It tends to be a food that I eat to get my calories up. That could be yogurt, fruit, and granola could be looking at 600, 700, 800 calories. So yes, it's high in I believe granola has nuts in, and therefore it's high in calories. So yes, I would potentially look to swap that out. If it was me, I'd probably change to maybe an oat-based thing, oats yogurt or porridge, that kind of thing. That would give you the carbs, which would give you the energy, and yeah, and that would save you loads of calories without even realizing. Sasha, I'm glad you found it helpful. Do you have any questions? Paula, I know you have to have carbs, but is it best only having it once a day or more? So, okay. Here's how your body works, and tell me if you can see me writing on the screen. Can you see that? Just put a yes in the chat if so. Okay, cool. So your body has 3 energy sources. We've got 2 energy sources, fats and carbs. Okay. When our body runs off fats, which it does, it runs a lot slower, and it runs, what's the word? I suppose a lot slower, less efficient, and it runs at this sort of pace. When a body runs off carbs, if you've ever seen a kid that you give them some Haribo's, they run like this, yeah? There's energy, energy, energy. Now, what our body wants, if you want it percentage-wise, is it wants 50% carbs. Ooh, I've never used this before. Carbs, it wants 30%. I like this. Protein, and it wants 20%, if my math is right. Yeah, 20% fat. So as you can see, the carbs are a lot higher, and this is our body's primary energy source. Okay, like a hybrid car, I suppose. The car runs off electric so far, and when it runs out, which is when it runs out of carbs here, it then moves to fats, like so. Have you ever seen a marathon runner? So a marathon runner and a 400-meter runner. Why can't the 400-meter runner run that pace for a marathon, and therefore they'd be really quick? And that's because they use carbs for so much of the race, and then they need to change the fats, which lowers their performance, and they get slower. The same with our body. Our body uses carbs. Once we've used the carbs up, we use fats. And if we're in a calorie deficit, which we will be based on what we've discussed, then our body uses stored fats. And stored fats are effectively the fat we want to burn and that kind of stuff, which we hold in fat deposits all around the body. Does that make sense, Paula? And if it doesn't, that's not a problem. I'll happily go through it again. And I can break it down a little bit different. But in simple terms, total drawings, we want a breakfast, lunch, and a dinner. And they all should have carbs, 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 protein, 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 fiber. And if we've got that, we are in a good place. Because this is your energy. This is your growth and recovery muscle. And this is to make you feel fuller. So Liz, your question about how much protein should you aim for each day? Now, obviously, this call is all about how to drop the weight without calorie counting. Now the rough goal is you try and hit 1.5 grams per kilo body weight. But if you make sure you get a protein source in every meal, you'll be along the right lines, and you won't need to calorie count for the time being. Does that make sense? I can get a chart. Yes, lovely. Maybe a silly question, but like diet drink versus full fat, is that same for yogurt? I've always thought so, but I've been recently told full fat is better. Are you able to unmute? If you are, I just need a little bit more context. If you are, it's amazing. Leave it with Ange. Okay. So to go back, I'm not sure who that was, but the question about diet drink versus full fat thing is always the same for the yogurt. Personally, I eat 0% low fat yogurt. Always have done. Probably always will. It saves you calories. Now, here's the thing: if I want to stand out on social media, I just have to tell people the opposite of what everyone else is telling people. There's a guy, and if you look him up, called James Smith, who's probably the biggest PT when all of this come out. And when Slimming World was huge, when we go back 10 years ago, and it's still big, unfortunately. He come out on social media and he was like, calorie deficit, calorie deficit, calorie deficit, calorie deficit, and he stood out. And his thinking was right. And he stood out for that. If I wanted to go viral, all I've got to do is sit here and tell you is, what's the craze at the moment? Everyone's doing weights. Okay, don't do weights. Weights are bad for you. And I'd stand out. It's not right, but people do it. So probably somebody's being told that full fat is better for you from a health benefit, and maybe arguably it is. But I would also argue that if your goal is to lose weight and maybe you feel you're currently overweight, obese, whatever, the number one thing for you right now is to lose that weight, because that's the most important thing. Because if you're overweight, we've got heart issues, potentially lung issues, all this strain on your body. So lose the weight, and then at a later date, maybe long term, it's like, okay, well, I need to lose some. I need to maybe look at these slight tweaks to my diet. And absolutely, I've got a few guys at the moment, a few girls that we're making slight fine tweaks to the body. And just like a car, right? You make slight tweaks and it performs better. And it's the same for each and every person. But from a weight loss point of view, low fat diet is a game changer, if that makes sense. Speaking about healthier fats. Okay. I've got 6 minutes on this call. I'm going to try and break down the fat combo. Fats, there are different types of fats: trans fats, polysaturated fats, saturated fats, that kind of stuff. All you need to worry about on your initial starting of nutrition is just keeping your fat levels low. Yes, there are better fats for you and worse fats for you. I can assure you, if you're eating a high protein diet by getting protein in everything, and the carbs, like we talked about, and the fiber, you'll be getting good fats in without even realizing it. This is the issue with nutrition: is it's such a minefield, and so many people have these ideas, and it does wind me up, that it just confuses people. If you just keep it so simple, you'll be along the right lines and you'll get in a better place. Yes, certain yogurts have got different better fats in than others, but low fat yogurt is the best thing we can do for weight loss, if that made sense right now. Just put yes in the Zoom chat if that made sense. The other question on here was, I've been eating protein-based yogurt. Should I still have them as a pudding? Yep, they're great. I do the same. I do the protein puddings. I do them in the evenings because I find them really, they cover my sweet craving, and also I quite like them. So, and I get my protein in, so it's something I always do. Has anyone else got any other questions? And if a question comes to you, put it in the Zoom in our group chat after. But here's the thing, guys. And something I'd always suggest is be careful what you see on Instagram, what you see on Facebook. It's a minefield out there. Every person is going to tell you something slightly different to get you to sign up with them. It's unfortunately the way the fitness world is at the moment. But what I can say to you is, if you just stick to these basics and get the foundations in, you'll be in such a better place in 90 days than if you chop and change and chop and change. This framework has worked for 200 people last year. It will work for 200 people this year. It'll work for 200 people next year, and it works and it gets results. It's not asking too much. It's very straightforward. Focus on the basics, and if you do the foundations and the basics, you'll get in a better place. I think there's one last question, which is good snacks. I always find these sort of questions quite hard to answer, but I'll do my best. Because like, if someone says to me, what's a good protein breakfast? Well, I'm a 22-year-old gym guy who will happily eat chicken and rice for lunch and dinner. And I can't cook, so that kind of thing. But good snacks. I do a low-fat yogurt. I get a protein powder, I mix it, and I put some frozen fruit in, and I do that every day at 3 o'clock. Fills me up. It's about 200 calories, and yeah, I like that. It's about half a pot of the low-fat Greek yogurt. It fills me up. But that being said, it might not be for you. That's something that I do. I always like to have a bit of fruit during the day. I like to have those protein puddings. My daily snacks tend to look like a banana before I train, a Rice Krispies chocolate square bar before I train because it gives me energy, and that yogurt thing I talked about there. But the important thing here, guys, is don't alienate any foods. There's no good food and there's no bad food. There's just a bad combination of food, which is also known as a diet. Follow our basic framework that we talked about. If I can get it up. If we can go back one slide. 3 set meals. Every meal must contain protein. Cut down on liquid calories. Meal times and your fiber intake, and you'll be in such a better place in 90 days. I hope you found this Zoom call helpful. There will be more over time. I'm always looking to get you guys the best results. And if you have any questions, just pop it in our WhatsApp chat with a hashtag ask. And yeah, have an awesome evening, guys. And I will speak to you soon.